Hello, I'm making another video which will most likely be a time capsule again, like some of my previous ones. I'm not out of the woods yet when it comes to legal proceedings and restrictions, but nevertheless I want to record my thoughts as they occur to me, and the subject, taboo subjects in general. I made one previously which I entitled "Don't Even Go There," which was looking at the correlation between religiously motivated first cousin marriage and lower IQ levels. And just to add to that, I think there's also a correlation between lower IQ levels and aggression. I don't have the numbers to hand, but it is something I couldn't help noticing not too long ago. There is the chance that my young children will stumble upon this video, so although I want to speak about the controversial subject matter, I need to choose my words carefully. So the subject I want to look at is child molestation, which unfortunately has been and still is happening on a massively industrial level, particularly in a lot of towns and cities in England and some in Scotland. This religiously motivated phenomenon, of course, is not entirely limited to the adherents of the religion of peace. Some of them, again, I'm choosing my words carefully. But when you look at the actual subject of child molestation and physical urges which start during teenage years, and the apparent lack of self-control that a lot of males have, and when they are encouraged to, through the religious indoctrination, to see people as unequal, as subhuman, and when their own women and girls are wrapped up and often only their eyes are visible. You know what I'm talking about. There seems to be among, of course, this does not apply to all males in this particular demographic. Of course, it doesn't apply to all of them. But there is a preponderance, there's a likelihood that on average, far more of those sorts of crimes will be committed by those particular people. And it's horrific. It's horrific what's going on in this country, what has gone on, and also the way that the authorities cover it up. The police, the government, local councils, social work departments have been terrified of being called racists, and therefore turn a blind eye to horrific crimes which are being perpetrated. But it's unfathomable to me. I guess I'm in a way, old-fashioned. But I do have an enormous sense of protection towards children and women. And, you know, think back to everybody's seen the movies about the Titanic and other shipwrecks and people boarding the lifeboats. And what do they say? Women and children first. In most wars, who fights? The men fight. Women and children don't. Of course, this is not always the case, but as a general rule, it's incumbent upon us adult males to look after our children and women folk. And of course, some people think, oh, that's so old-fashioned, that's so non-PC, but I don't care about that. Political correctness is a cancer, I would say, in my humble opinion, especially when it causes criminals, child molesters, to do what they do with impunity. But the very fact that they do that, I can't get my head around it. How can any man or teenage boy force themselves upon a woman or a girl who is not willing to participate? It's unfathomable. That's a line that I cannot imagine crossing, and I can't imagine how anybody else can cross it. And it's a thing which doesn't get talked about much. The discussions about these so-called grooming gangs is often quite abstract and doesn't really talk about the nuts and bolts of what is actually going on. Of course, this isn't always the case, and there have been many interviews of survivors, victims of what has happened, and it's horrific. And as a father of young daughters, I feel compelled to share my thoughts. However, once again, because of the weird and frustrating situation I find myself in, I have a sort of gagging order on me. Not that many people are likely to see this anyway, but chances are it'll remain unlisted for a while. So those are the main thoughts that I have. There's of course more. I'm not going into huge detail at the moment, but I just want to record my thoughts at this point in time. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.